Well, at least now you've got the future of gaming to talk about now, which is the future, which is virtual reality. Probably. Are you looking forward to virtual reality, Jack? Do you think it's going to be fun?
I am. Like, I've been psyched about it since it first got announced, and like I say, every time we bring it up, Star Citizen is going to be the one on VR, and it's going to be the make or break of it, in my opinion. And that's what I want to do. I want to fly around space and be an absolute dick to people and actually feel like it's real.
Yeah. Yeah, my mate's playing Elite Dangerous now, and I keep asking him how that's compared to Star Citizen. He keeps saying, "Oh no, it's probably going to be Star Citizen's going to be awful, and that's going to be way better." They look like the same game to me, but I'm not sure. You never know. We'll find out, I guess. When
I
it
played a
comes
little
out.
bit of Elite Dangerous, and I found it quite boring. What interests me about Star Citizen is the player agency they seem to be pushing with the game,
Yeah.
and how it's kind of like, the way Eve is set up to be a player-built universe. It looks like Star Citizen's pushing to be a similar sort of thing.
Okay.
And I just think it's one of those games you cannot judge for like at least 2 years now. Like, when the game's out, when they're like, right, you can play it, it's online multiplayer, we've got all our flying and shit and trading, then it can be judged. At the moment, it's just, oh, here's our engine, we're kind of building it still.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting when it comes out finally, and then we can compare them. That's going to be a big show-off, I think. Or big show-off,
Yeah, I
I'm
think
saying.
so.
A big
Showdown.
showdown, yeah. That's what I meant to say.
Showdown.
Cool, okay. So, we've got a bit of new... We're going to try it a bit differently now. So, when we're introducing stuff, we're going to make people go full screen. So, Rob and Jack will be able to hear you. But I think my face is going to take over. There we go. God. I look so messy. I don't like looking at myself. Massive. But, anyway, to start this week off. So, this week we were announced from Oculus. We finally got the price for the original Oculus Rift. And it's going to be pretty expensive. A bit more expensive, I think, than everyone else is thinking. So, there's been a lot of big criticisms at Oculus at the moment. Because the thing is, I think when they were announcing the Rift and when it was all coming out, everyone was expecting to be able to buy headsets and be able to sort of jump into VR games this year. But, once now this first price has come out, it's very clear that it's not the case, that it's going to be something everyone can afford to do. So, the question now is, how is that going to affect VR moving forward? And, what is this going to mean? Is this going to mean we're going to have VR a lot later? Are developers going to stop making games because the hardware's too expensive? And there's quite a lot of questions to sort of go over and go through. But before we go into sort of the nitty-gritty details over sort of what Oculus did, I've got a bit of information I want to show you guys first. So, the first thing, so the Oculus pricing now. So in the UK, without shipping, it's £499 for a headset. In the US, it's $599, and in the EU, it's $699, which is a really expensive amount for a new peripheral, I think. In the countries it's going to be available in, I'll just go through them super quick, even though this might be a bit of a waste of time. I think it might help. So you've got Australia, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Japan, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Poland, Spain, Sweden, Taiwan, United Kingdom, and the United States as countries you can buy the Rift in. So if I didn't say your country out there, unfortunately you might have to wait until, I don't know, even 2017 before you're able to get your hands on one. And the stuff that they're going to include with the box is a little sort of like hand controller thing. So when you press it, you can control the mouse and stuff a lot easier than having to like blindly find your mice and keyboard somewhere. You now have to blindly find a small little remote. You also get the sensor with it, an Oculus Rift headset, and you also get an Xbox One controller. Alongside that, we posted an article on Game Debate earlier on this week to say what people think of it, and we had a couple of comments from the viewers which are quite interesting. So Lucas371 said the same with, which was the top comment as well, I might add. Same with every new technology, as it comes at a premium price. And let's not forget the amount of money you need for a rig that can even utilise the £600 Oculus, which is in the 1K region and upwards. I won't be jumping into VR just yet. And that sort of makes sense, I guess, for a lot of people with the price being so high. And we also got a comment from Red Bad Rooster, who said, I'd rather spend that $600 to buy an upgrade for my PC while I wait for a cheaper alternative for the Rift. I still not seen a game that I will delve myself... Is delve a word? It sounds like a word. Yeah. There you go. I'll delve myself into playing for hours. Until then, VR is a mere dream for me. And from
just needed the word myself to be removed.
Yeah. And I think... And so what we got from the poll is... We also got just under 300 people saying it was way too expensive. We got about 25 people saying it's what they expected. And not many people said it was cheaper than they thought. I don't think it was cheaper than what anyone thought for the Rift. And yeah, I don't think... Apparently a couple of people thought it was a bargain, which if you look at the prices previously, you know, there is some chance it could be a bargain. So the first thing you want to go over is why is the Oculus so expensive? And, you know, I mean, when the DK... So the DK2, it came out at around, I think it's about £222, about $300 when it first came out. And if you want to look at this image quickly, so this shows us the difference between the parts in the DK2 and the CV1, which is the consumer headset coming out. So for a start, the DK2 has clearly a significantly less amount of parts than the CV1 has. And in essence, because the game technology is so new, and because it's so broad and there's so much to do with these headsets, that it's going to clearly cost a significant amount of more. When Palmer Luckey was talking about Oculus's reasoning behind keeping it so high, the main point of it was that they could have released a lot cheaper headset that was a lot worse, but the point is that they wanted to release VR that people would be quite excited about. They didn't want to put out a product and everyone would go, oh, well, this could be way better, or this could be better. They wanted to put it out in a complete form, which, in essence, has potentially screwed them a bit, because the point of it, of releasing it too high, is that everyone thought they were going to be able to play VR now, which they can't. And I think a lot of it now is to do with the messaging that Oculus sent out. So clearly there was meant to be, I think, quite a cheaper obviously people expected a lot cheaper headset than there actually was. And what's that sound? Is that your cat?
That's mini eggs being presented to me.
That was a really, really loud packet crunching. It's alright. I forgive you. But yeah, so yeah, they announced it is going to be really expensive, and now, as they announced it, and everyone thought it was going to be really cheap, and it's finally come out, and it's probably one of the most expensive pieces of kit you'll buy this year. So, Jack, burn your mini eggs.
That's it, that's one I want.
So, I guess first, Rob, like, what do you think? What were your thoughts on the Oculus pricing? Were you going to buy a headset? Were you not going to buy a headset?
No, I don't care too much for peripherals. From my time working with them as well, I'm kind of aware that there's nothing available for them yet. People don't really know how to utilize the stuff yet. So what you're not seeing games being made. You're seeing tech demos being made, and there's only so many tech demos where you walk around to get the feel of VR before you get a bit bored of that. So I think it's definitely something which people can probably hold out for until, one, the headsets come down, and two, there's content for it. So it's kind of like, why would you buy a Wii U? No one's making anything for it. That type of argument going on.
And what did you think of the price?
It's really expensive. I know they've got their arguments for why it's expensive, and the quality of the lenses, the peripherals that they force on you, which as a PC gamer, you probably have a controller. So, like I've got one. Yeah. I don't have a headset, but I do have a control pad because I play games. So that seems a bit silly, throwing that sort of thing in and using that as a reason for the price. And I don't think the quality of the lenses yet are going to be able to be utilized on the current hardware, just because the amount of processing power that needs to run a VR game. They probably could have kept the price down a bit by using realistic lenses for the time being, but that's just what I would have thought their approach might have been.
And just a dump on the defending Oculus bandwagon, which not many people are doing as well. So the controller stuff they bundled in with it, and everything they bundled in with it is basically nothing really. So the controller is basically donated to them from Microsoft. So a lot of people have said, oh, can't you just reduce the price and get rid of the games and get rid of the controller and get rid of all this other stuff? And really, that stuff is like minimal. Basically, it's like almost negligible. What Palmer Luckey's been saying, who's the founder of Oculus, he's been saying if you want to do that, then just sell the Xbox One controller for a little profit if you want to. Which
a little profit.
Well, you can make some
of
your money
back. I spent 500 quid and made 50. I made a 50 quid profit.
You got it. What do you think? Yeah, but it's you paid.
No,
for
but to be fair, it's an Xbox One controller is 50 quid like that.
Yeah.
I think you have to take that into account in the pricing, because new controllers are highly sought after. We sell them in the shop as soon as they come in.
I think people will still probably be as outraged at 550 cost as much as they are at 600. Maybe a tiny bit less, but it doesn't make that much of a difference. It's still a shock price compared to the 300 ballpark. And as well, yeah, I think you mentioned before, like the specs you have to be able to run this. So the minimum requirements for a Rift are a GTX 970 or an AMD 290, Intel i5 Gray, 8 gig of RAM. You need 4 USB ports now as well to run everything through it, and ideally need compatible HDMI 1.3 video outputs, which most people has. Chat, if you're listening, do you guys think? Has anyone in there bought an Oculus Rift? Is anyone getting an Oculus Rift? Did anyone want one and then decide they're not going to get one? And how many people in the chat actually have a PC that can run a Rift, like at that spec? Because I don't. Do you, Jack? Yours can.
I think so, yeah.
970?
Yeah, it can. But I'm not spending 600 quid on something that, like Rob said, it doesn't have games for it. I wouldn't even... Like, I barely was happy spending my 300 quid on the PS4 or whatever, and I bought, like, 10 games with that.
Yeah. And Rob, can your computer run it? No?
I think it can now, yeah. I've recently upgraded the graphics card. So, yeah, I reckon it would run it, but I don't need to at the moment.
And I think... So do you think that this new device has now priced people out the market for getting virtual reality? Rob?
It's hard to say. I mean, that could be one of the reasons, but I don't think... I think the price is probably the smaller of the reasons. Anyone who is interested in keeping up to date with that type of tech probably has the funds for that type of thing put aside, or like to upgrade PC is probably that sort of PC running. I think price is going to be less of a reason than the amount of content available for it. That would be my problem going into it.
I think, as you can see, so GD as well. We're going to be looking to get a headset as well, and we're going to be testing one here to see all the benchmarks and see how they run. So if people do want to fork out a lot for that headset, and we will be able to provide all the different specs. I know that the Oculus have told all game developers that basically all their games have to run on a 970. So it'll be interesting to see what compatibility levels they'll get from the actual developers themselves, and all the games come out. And alongside that as well, I think there's obviously they've got their own marketplace which they're bringing out alongside, which should be quite interesting to see how that goes compared to Steam and sort of other clients at the moment, because so Oculus as well, when you buy the headset, it isn't just limited to using their store. You can use it to play any virtual reality game. It's not a locked device at all. And I mean, I think for the pricing of VR then, so we've got obviously the other two headsets, which people aren't really talking about that much. We've got the Samsung Gear VR headset and the Google Cardboard headset. So the Samsung Gear VR headset is it's $100 if you buy it in the States. It's about the same here in the UK. And with that, it does require an S6 phone or a Galaxy Note 4 phone. But for people who do want to experience VR and don't want to pay like 600 quid, oh god, my stomach, they don't want to pay 600 quid or like a really big price chunk for it, there are headsets out there and available now that you can get. So Jack, have you been following much of VR? Do you think the price tag?
The thing is, I just don't. It's so hard to follow something you don't know anything about.
Yeah.
You know, like I watch videos on it and think, yeah, it seems cool, and what I imagine it to be is cool. But the thing with technology is that the promise of it, the potential of it, is never actually what happens. So I'm sort of just reserving as much judgment as I can until I actually get my hands on one and have a proper sit-down experience with it. The concept of VR, into it, like really into it. But I just don't understand enough about it to be able to follow it and make or build an idea of what I think about it, if you know what I mean. Apart from that, yeah, it's pretty cool, man.
Do you think it'll be a fad, or do you think it'll be more than a fad?
I mean, there's so much put into it now. Like all the big people have been sort of jumping on, and I think that I don't know. I don't think it'll be big for games, honestly. I think it will like be something else. I just think that games. It's like we were talking about when we first talked about it, about how when players are playing, you have to guide them to see things. So what you spend loads of time and assets on, they might not even notice.
Yeah.
And I think that it will come down to that, and then maybe interactive experiences like that. Was it The Park or something? That horror game that was based on The Secret World.
Ooh, there's a lot of horror ones. There's I can't remember the top of my head what they're called.
That one seemed like it'd be really cool. On
Affliction.
Oculus
That's what it's called, I think. Maybe.
maybe.
But yeah, I mean, I think it is hard to think how this will stand out compared to, like, you know, we've got 3D TVs that have come and gone, and we've got 4K, which is taken off. We obviously have the Kinect and all the PlayStation Move controllers and stuff. I mean, so Rob, do you think this is just a fad, or how do you think people are gonna respond to it?
Um, Making a prediction. Everyone, I don't know. I would say if it's a fad, it's an expensive one.
Yeah.
To me, it seems more of a gimmick than it does a necessity. I have never played a game and thought, this is almost perfect, but if I could just see through the eyes of that character and turn my head around and feel as I lived in that world, it would. I've never felt that. Games have pretty much offer what they need to offer at the moment. So I think for me, that's why it would fall into the category of gimmick. But I think it can also provide some good experiences and some different type of outlets for people to play, but like Jack said, possibly not for games as such. So that'd be my opinion on it.
Because I think it does significant. I think a lot when 3D TVs came out, you're sort of it's sort of like, you know, stuff just sort of comes out the screen a tiny bit, and it doesn't really improve the experience that much. With these VR headsets now that are coming out, obviously you can look around, you can look at different things, and it does add something more to the gaming experience a bit. And more importantly, you know, it's not necessarily like the Kinect or something. It's not the way you control it. It's the way you look at stuff as well. So I think there's definitely a couple of different dimensions where we could see this taking off, and how it will be. I think, like Jack said before, you think it wouldn't be used for games. I mean, most VR content now isn't actually used for watching games at all. It's used for other stuff. So, yeah, VR, Oculus expensive. Maybe don't get one
Well,
yet.
chat's just saying, Welch 2008 says he played the PSVR at PSX and it's amazing. Then he played Valkyrie and Loading Human. And I said, do you think it's worth 600 quid? And he says he thinks the price will actually be 400, and that is completely worth it.
Yeah.
And that, as a 37-year-old, it renewed his gaming hype. And I think that's interesting. You know, everyone I've spoken to has tried it, has said it is incredible. Like, you don't expect it to be that immersive and that overwhelming, and it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, those games when you, like, you're just looking on a tiny screen, you step out into a vista. If that's your entire vision, that's going to be mind-blowing.
And I think that is another thing. Like, when people try it, it is absolutely... I mean, the technology now is crazy. I mean, people are complaining about the price of these headsets, but what they actually do is pretty phenomenal. Like, there's almost no latency. There's basically no latency when you're looking around. It's like you're feeling something. It's like you're being somewhere else. Everything's stereoscopic. You've got head tracking. You can move around and look at stuff. Like, this tech is, like, miles beyond anything that's sort of been done before it's been released. So, I mean, apart from Oculus horrifically setting everyone's expectations, there's, like, loads to go from it, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it moves on, I think. But yeah, Welch, it's good. It could be renewed in for gaming. There's definitely a lot of people who haven't really done any games or anything, been sort of waiting for virtual reality since the 90s or so, and we're soon gonna finally get it and see what it's like. Cool. Well, VR, I might have to get myself a headset at some point. I don't know when though.
If I can justify the amount of money, I will get it, but I just don't think I could justify £600 on something. I've spent that's half my gaming PC, like in its entirety.
Yeah.
That's a graphics card there. That's a really nice processor or something.
If I had the money, I think I'd definitely get it, but I don't have 600 quid at the moment, unfortunately. So one day, maybe. Who knows?